Seriously, go away, please. Thank you. Alright. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic, Less Non-Classics, episode 2812, and Doubleshot number 2706. This is a take 2 of this video, because, for some strange reason, my microphone stopped working. So I did not want to put a video where it's got audio good for a while, and then halfway through the audio just cuts off. So, we're here discussing the final issues released in the Bronze Age for Batman and Detective Comics. Issues, numbers. For Batman, it is 376 to 385, 388 to 396, and 399. For Detective, it's 543 to 558, 560 to 562, and 555 to 567. Now, basically, after Batman deals with some serial killer at first, basically in these issues, Nocturna returns after her second appearance over in Page Detective. 543 has the unique distinction for Detective Comics. I had to bring this up here because basically that I did bring this up in my video. 543 has unique distinction of being the very first cover of the Detective Comics to feature the creative team in the title. Yep. So, basically, Nocturna's back, and there's a possibility talk about them getting married. That doesn't go to because for next she was like, oh, she basically she comes back and finds on the paper that, oh, Bruce Wayne wants to adopt Jason Todd, and she wants Jason Todd to get back at Batman for sort of in a way allowing their fall. So then of course they go to court. He points out though that why isn't basically some, like the whole thing is like the fact that she's a career criminal, the fact that, oh yeah, that was what some of her brother Anton did, the fact that he even asked the obvious question, how does Jason feel about this? He's been asked. He's able to cooperate, no problem. And Bruce loses the case. Now, I mistakenly thought this was Lucius talking. This actually, it looks very similar to Lucius. It could be Lucius, but I don't think it's Lucius. I think it might be just a lawyer he has who looks like Lucius because of the gray in this hair. I mean, it's not like he's black. It just basically, I think of like a... I always think of Lucius Fox, obviously, but he doesn't have glasses and he's not thin, so... So, basically the whole thing with Jason is that Jason has to live with Natasha, and despite them living together, he can still be Robin. I find that kind of weird. And then, of course, there's a little bit of other stuff here with the creature Batman fights, which, of course, Nocturna kisses him to wake him up. And then she's kidnapped by the Mad Hatter, along with Jason Todd. Yes, kidnapped by the Mad Hatter for reasons unexplained that he wanted her so badly. Yeah. Yeah, he wanted her. Yep. Now back basically where we're going for. Yeah, by the way, Don Newton still has the artwork for these issues, so... Then, of course, we continue viewing the case of, like, Jason Todd, his whole adoption thing, and, of course, with the Mad Hatter stuff. Yeah, I think the Mad Hatter thing is just kind of a weird introduction. Now, this is the real Mad Hatter, because he does have a mustache, because the mustache one is the imposter. Yep. And after dealing with the Mad Hatter for, like, one issue... Yeah, after dealing with the Mad Hatter, basically that we have more stuff here related to Nocturna. And aside from the Mad Hatter, there's not really like a lot of... Like, there is a particular issue I'm going to discuss here. I think it's issue of Detective. Or mostly put, it's like a bunch of serial killers, and of course Anton finding out that her sister is basically dating Batman. Well, at least he's making out with Yeah. It seems like the Mad Hatter's stories are contained in Batman. They don't spring over Detective. Yeah. I mean, there's no denying, basically, that Nocturne is a very beautiful woman. Yeah, so, yeah, they got the Mad Hatter here. Yeah, and then, of course, we have, get this, okay, so, my guess is that the Bronze Age will wrap really soon, so let's basically wrap the whole thing with Hamilton Hill, the crooked mayor of Gotham City. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, basically we deal with the whole thing with Hamilton Hill. His story gets wrapped up really soon. Yeah, it's like Doug basically was probably told, "Hey, let's just wrap up the story with him." Yeah, basically 546 is the end of the whole thing with Hamilton Hill. And then we have in 580 where the character Dr. Fang dies. He only around for like a year, and Doug created him. Now, you might be thinking, did he ever turn off this? No, he stays dead. Yeah, he stays dead. Move back over to Batman for, I think it was 547. Well, we have it where, in 540, like, oh, we have this guy impersonating Batman, who's actually the Night Slayer. Yeah, and get this, he's posing as Batman, and it turns out he's actually the mayor's, well, basically it's, not Night Slayer, it's somebody else, who is, posing as Batman. Yeah, and then of course the whole thing is concluded with 581, with Batman facing the fake Batman. Yeah, so that's what Batman ran away for out. Then of course the real Batman shows up, and of course the fake Batman is unmasked, and he apparently is the nephew of Hill's like chief of staff, and then Hamilton Hill is basically written out the series. Yep. So then, of course, basically, Jim Gordon gets reinstated as commissioner with 581. I guess that the reason why Doug had it with this period of time where, okay, let's get rid of Hamilton Hill because he's corrupt, and we probably have a couple of years left before stuff happens here. So let's wrap it up and reinstate Jim Gordon, who had been fired as the commissioner by, I think it was Rupert Thorne. And I guess basically it's like, and then with 548, we have the return of Catwoman to the series. Yeah, Catwoman returns. That's the biggest thing with 548. Also, Harvey Bullock is appearing a lot at this period of time. And I do mean a lot. Like, Doug apparently loved writing the guy. Because this guy would constantly appear. Like, oh my gosh, this guy would appear so much in the Bronze Age. Yeah, he didn't appear once at first, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, like for Batman, he appeared on a regular basis in that book since 361, and he only missed like 2 issues. up until like issue 400. But yeah, that was his thing. And in the case of Detective, yeah, technically his first appearance was in 441, and after he returned in 528, Jerry Conway brought him back, and the guy very rarely missed an issue, and he was here up until basically about 565. That's where he was written out of the book because of Earth, because of the whole crisis stuff. So he was basically, I think he was brought back later on. Don't worry about that. But there's also a really good Harvey Bullock story going to come up really soon. I'll be discussing that because this story was also adapted. Because I saw this issue, I'm like, wow, it's like, let's adapt this for an episode of Batman the Animated Series. Yep. Yeah, then of course Catwoman's return, and of course we have her apparent death, and we have the final appearance of Dark Wolf. Excuse me, in 382. And he had not been appearing very long. He only made like just a few appearances. Basically, Batman. He's like a minor villain. I guess Doug probably just didn't feel like writing this guy anymore. Not really, no. And as for Julia, well, yeah, get this. In this book, basically, she was dating Bruce Wayne. Yes. And then and then she slowly got to be I mean, I think the plan maybe was to write her out of the series. And then we move on to 549. Oh, Pat Broderick is writing it. Oh, okay. This is the issue I want to talk about right here. 549. And this issue was down for Batman the Animated Series, this one. Dr. Harvey and Mr. Bullock. Because this issue, like I read this issue, I'm like, okay. Like, I read this, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I get so many, like, deja vu from Batman the Animated Series this issue. Like, you have Harvey Bullock. Yeah, this is a whole Harvey Bullock story in Detective. So, you have, it's all about day in the life of Harvey Bullock where he's, this is not him being cute as a cookie cop. He does not live in some swanky mansion. He's just basically just some chubby guy. And it's like, oh yeah, let's just basically, how about calling him Batman? And of course he drops some food on the floor. And then we see him like just walk through and just tap some stuff over, knock some packages over. And then he stops a fight. Then he gets in a fight with some punk. Yep. And then, like, by the way, this is the one done by Pat Broderick. Of course, he goes to his home. Apparently, he loves films, and he just sits in his apartment, just dusting off his posters. He's called back in, of course, and of course his car door falls off his car. Yes. Because he drives an old beat up car. It's all about like a serial killer. I really love this issue. And it's really good the fact that the people who created Batman Animated Series adapted this very story for the show. Yeah, it's a great standalone issue. And I freaking love it. Mm-hmm. As for the remaining issues of Detective, well, we have 550, which is not a double-sided issue. It's basically Batman versus some one-shot character. It's like at this point you can definitely say that a lot of the story is basically saying like kind of stop doing the whole connecting with Batman. And then 551 we have Return of Calendar Man. Yes, Calendar Man. But it takes place at the 5 basically yeah, basically it seems as though like the temporary stop for a bit where basically 383 like it's basically like a standalone issue. A Night in Life of Batman. It's all about Batman. For a book called that. And I think this was let's see, what was Don Noon's last issue he wrote? Because he passed away this period of time. His last issue he did for the book was issue 379. That was his last official comic he ever drew. Before his passing. Of this book, anyways. For Detective, he never drew a detective. He did draw some detective. His last issue he did for that book was 539. You have Gene Colan doing this issue here, and it continues over in 384 with Return of Calendar Man. Yep, and it continues over in 551. More Calendar Man stuff here. Plus, we have a new mayor, Mayor Showcroft. Yeah, and he appeared for a few issues. Appeared 551, 553, 550. He appeared in the issue of Swamp Thing. Where, get this. The crime for her, she was arrested for sleeping with Swamp Thing. I'm like, what? Yeah, there was a bunch of bogus charges he was charged with just because she slept with him. Yes. And Calendar Man continues to appear in Batman for a bit, and like he's like a recurring villain for these few issues here, and then we move on to 552, where he faces up a guy named Cutter. It's like maybe reading these issues is like Doug is trying to keep these books separate. Yep. Yeah, so let's talk briefly about some detective here. Because 586 and 587 basically discussed already, thanks to, of course, well, awesome trades. Actually, discuss 552. Okay, 553. Yeah. This deals more with the debuting Black Mask, who actually made his debut in 586. It's continuing the crazy story arc relating to him. Oh, actually, I've discussed this already. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna be right back. bad. Sorry about that. Okay. Nature calls. Okay, so. Alright, where was I? Oh, yes. Yeah, looks like turns out that 553 I have technically reviewed and put down there. So, don't worry about 553 there. Alright, so. Let's move on to 554. Where this was the issue where Black Canary got her brand new costume. But the main story here is Batman take on smugglers. Yep. And that's in 554. In 555. And this is a weird one. Let's talk about 538 first, because this issue, for some strange reason, Doug, who's Tom Mandrake here, decides to have it where Batman has to fight two Flash villains. Which ones? Captain Boomerang and Mirror Master. It starts in 388, gets wrapped up in 555 Detective. I'm like, what the heck? Yes, and apparently they reveal their backstories, these two. It's like, what the heck is this? Yeah. I love this two-parter. It's just so hilarious, the fact they brought these characters in for this, just for these couple issues. And I think like 589 is basically... Okay. So 589 is noteworthy for one big thing. The sky is turning red because Crisis on Earth is happening, and it's not even referenced in the issue. Like, it's just like, why the heck is sky going red? Crisis on Earth is happening. Night Slayer's returned. And then the story continued in 556 for Batman, which, did I discuss this already? No, I didn't. So yeah, it continues the potential with Nocturne and Gorcy with the False Face Society, and it continues over in Batman 390. Where basically we're getting toward writing out Nocturna from the series. Yes, we're getting to her writing her out, basically the book. And it goes over to 557. We can deal with Night Slayer. And then comes 391, the very issue where Nocturna gets written out of the series. Well, probably because basically she died. Yeah, she got killed off this issue. And then continues over in 558. Or Batman working with Catwoman now. It continues to take on Night Slayer. And then moving on to Batman 392, which is basically Batman and Catwoman basically with each other for this issue. Taking on some other guy. Also, Catwoman's whip is destroyed in this issue. Yes, and beginning with the next following issue, this is all after Crisis on Earth, where for a brief period of time in the Batman books, the Earth 1 characters are on New Earth. Yep. Now, 559 are discussed already, which I'm going to go straight to basically 393 here. Excuse me. It's basically Batman versus a guy called the Dark Rider, who is not around very long. He appears for this issue and the following issue, and then he returns post-Crisis with a few appearances here and there. Yeah, it's like a quick two-parter for him for 393, 394. And then he just disappears. And then 395, meanwhile, though, is basically Batman taking the Film Freak. Yep, the Film Freak. Great character. Who's not around very much. I do like the character. He's like, the whole thing, he's like obsessed with films. And it's basically a story where you have Batman, Catwoman, Robin, Harvey Bullock work together. Yeah, it's basically all about referencing famous movies with this story arc here. And I really enjoyed it. And the guy's name is Burt Watson, which, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's named after Burt Ward. And he's here for debuts in $3.95, appears over the Comics $5.62, and then returns for $5.96. And like I mentioned, basically $97.99, skipping over those issues, $97, $98 skipping issues because basically those were now 63 and 64. Skip over these issues mainly because basically it's probably storyline involving Two-Face. But what about the last few issues here? Where it's called The Love Killing. Yeah, this is basically the beginning and the end of the Batman's time in Bronze Age. Yep. Yeah, and also, Jason gets a girlfriend in these issues. Yep, he gets to go to the arena. And the story continues over in Batman $3.99. Which goes to, it basically was, there was a serial killer. And then we finally moved to Batman 366, the last issue of Detective that came out prior to Batman 400. The big thing with this issue is basically just recapping like all the Batman villains appearing in the book. Prior to this, all on screen: Joker, Penguin, Killer Moth, Black Mask, Cersei, well, Batman Cersei, Two-Face, Mad Hatter, Deadshot, Ra's al Ghul, Talia, Nocturna, Night Slayer, Poison Ivy, Riddler, Killer Croc, Catman, Crazy Quilt, Mr. Freeze, Clayface Sir, Black Spider, Two of them, and Cavalier. And with that, pretty much that is the end of Doug Moloch's run on Batman and Detective. His first run, anyways. I've already discussed second run already, so let's discuss final thoughts as one overall for Batman. I really enjoyed this era for Batman. It was really a lot of fun, got good stories out of it. And Doug, you can tell by reading the stories here, he loved including Harvey Bullock. Even if he doesn't have a Juggernaut all the time, Harvey Bullock is always there because he is that cool of a character. He may have been a snob at first, but damn, he's just a really good character. Yep. So, these are damn good issues. I am really looking forward to discussing them. Now, with this basically done for these two titles, guess what's happening for these two titles? It's basically going to be discussing the Golden Age. Now, yes, I am going to be replacing kind of talking about Bronze Age stuff. Now, I'm still going to do Golden Age Batman Detective. I'm going to do that. But I'm going to start reviewing Adventure Comics and World's Finest. World's Finest, that's going to start with issue 76. Excuse me, for the start into issue like 116. It's basically discussing one feature. You find what we talk about. And the other one's gonna be Adventure Comics. That one I'm gonna start with. I do have an issue number I'm gonna start with here. It's gonna be starting with issue number 300. Yes, I'm gonna start with 300, and gonna go straight to like. Go for the 300s and 400s, and maybe might go back further than that. Who knows? But by the way, what we're going to give these issues, I give these issues roughly a 10 out of 10. Okay? So yeah, that's particularly a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do the dislike button. I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'll be right back to discuss, well, Superman. He's next. Okay, next video. Bye.